The cake was chocolate with vanilla frosting, my favorite since I was a kid. 27 candles leaned slightly to one side, wax dripping like tiny tears down the smooth white icing. My mother had insisted on lighting all of them, even though the smoke from that many flames made the dining room hazy. "Make a wish," she said softly. I looked around the table. My father sat at the head, posture straight, fingers folded like he was presiding over a board meeting instead of his son's birthday. My sister, Hira, scrolled through her phone with one hand while holding a fork in the other. A few cousins sat nearby, whispering. The air felt tight, like everyone was waiting for something. I closed my eyes. I didn't wish for money, I didn't wish for success. I wished just once to feel like I belonged. Speech, one of my cousins joked as I blew out the candles. Applause followed, polite, thin, almost rehearsed. I stood up, forcing a smile. "Thanks for coming, it means a lot." Before I could sit down, Hira laughed. Not a sweet laugh, not playful. Sharp. "Yeah," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "It's kind of surprising we're even celebrating." The room stilled. "What does that mean?" I asked, still smiling, hoping she'd soften it into a joke. She didn't. "It means," she said, putting her phone down and finally looking at me, "that our family is embarrassed to share your last name." The words didn't land all at once. They floated for a second, like they might dissolve before reaching me. They didn't. My mother inhaled sharply, my father didn't move. I felt heat rush to my face. "Excuse me." Hira shrugged. "You heard me. Do you know how it looks? All of us working in respected professions, law, medicine, finance, and then there's you. There's you." 3 years ago, I had left my job at my father's company. A stable position, predictable income, a clear path to eventually taking over. Instead, I opened a small community art studio. I taught painting classes to kids who couldn't afford private lessons. I hosted weekend workshops for struggling teenagers. I painted murals in neighborhoods most people in our family drove past with their windows rolled up. It didn't make me rich. It made me feel alive. "It's not shameful to teach kids art," I said quietly. "It's not about art," Hira snapped. "It's about status, reputation. People ask what you do and we have to explain it like it's some charity hobby." A cousin shifted uncomfortably. My father finally spoke. "Hira," he said evenly. But it wasn't a warning, it was a caution about tone, not content. "She's right about one thing," he continued, eyes fixed on me. "You walked away from responsibility." Responsibility. The word echoed. I looked at my mother, she avoided my gaze. I laughed softly at first, then louder than I meant to. "So this dinner, this cake is what? A courtesy?" Hira crossed her arms. "It's damage control." Something inside me cracked. "Damage control for what?" I demanded. "For the gossip," she shot back. "Do you know what Aunt Samina said last week? That you're the charity case of the family, that you couldn't handle real pressure." Each sentence felt like another candle relit, burning. "And you agree with her?" I asked. Hira hesitated. That hesitation hurt more than if she'd answered instantly. "We just think you could have done more," she said finally. "With our last name, you had doors open for you, and you chose to paint." Silence swallowed the room. I looked at the cake, the candles now thin spirals of smoke. My birthday wish felt childish. "I didn't realize our last name came with conditions," I said quietly. "It comes with expectations," my father replied. "And if I don't meet them?" He didn't answer. He didn't have to. I left before dessert was served. No one followed me outside. The night air was cool, brushing against my face like a reality check. I drove without music, without direction, until I found myself parked outside the studio. The building wasn't impressive. The paint on the door chipped, the sign above it slightly crooked. But through the front window I could see the mural my students and I had finished last month, a burst of color across brick that once looked forgotten. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The smell of acrylic paint and old wood greeted me like an old friend. On the far wall hung drawings from the kids' class, uneven lines, bold colors, names written proudly in the corners. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. I almost ignored it. Instead, I opened it. "Happy birthday, sir. Thank you for helping me get into art school. I couldn't have done it without you." It was from Bill, one of my first students. He'd been 16 when he walked into my studio, angry at the world, convinced he wasn't good at anything. Last month, he'd gotten accepted into a scholarship program. Another buzz. Sir, Mama says thank you for the free classes. I sold my first painting today. A picture followed, a little girl holding up a canvas of a sunflower, grinning so wide her eyes nearly disappeared. I sat down on the studio floor, embarrassed to share my last name. Maybe I wasn't building a legacy they understood. But I was building something. The next morning, I posted a photo online, not of the cake, not of my family. Of the mural. Caption, grateful for another year doing what I love. By noon, the post had more engagement than anything I'd ever shared. Former students commented, parents sent messages, someone from a local community center reached out about collaborating. By evening, a journalist messaged me, asking if she could feature the studio in a story about grassroots art programs. I stared at the screen. Maybe reputation didn't only belong to corporations and law firms. Maybe a last name could mean compassion too. A week later, the article was published. Local artist transforms neighborhood through free youth programs. My photo stood beside the mural, paint on my hands, smiling without forcing it. 2 days after that, my father called. He didn't usually call. I saw the article, he said. I waited. It was well written. Thank you. There was a pause. Your grandfather, he continued slowly, was a carpenter before he started the family business. People thought he was wasting his education, said manual work was beneath him. I hadn't known that. He built half the houses in our old town, my father said, with his own hands. Another pause. I suppose, he added, voice quieter, there are different ways to honor a name. It wasn't an apology. But it was something. That evening, Hira texted me a link to the article with a single line. Didn't realize it was this big. I stared at the message. Then I typed back. It's not big, it's just honest. She didn't reply. But she liked the post. On my 28th birthday, I didn't have a formal dinner. I held an open studio day instead. Kids painted alongside their parents, music played from a small speaker, someone brought cupcakes, laughter bounced off the walls. At one point, I stepped outside for air. Through the window, I saw my family. My mother helping a little boy choose colors. My father studying the mural up close. Hira kneeling beside a girl, showing her how to blend blue into purple. No one mentioned last names. No one mentioned shame. When it was time to cut the cake, store-bought this time, slightly lopsided, everyone gathered around. Make a wish, Bill teased. I looked around the room. Paint-stained tables, smiling faces, walls bursting with color. I didn't close my eyes. I didn't need to. Because this time, I didn't wish to belong. I already did.